Shalom Israel first. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua by Hashem Kakadash, the one see Apostle Ezra Millstone, peace, citation, wonder of Israel. And for this lesson, I want to title it Look Up, really stemming from this scripture right here in Luke. But I'll just read this real quick. It says, new mystery object enters our solar system. Third known interstellar object heads this way. And, this object right here is a chariot. And if you're not familiar with the chariots, they're the so-called UFOs, so-called UAPs. That this world classifies them as, but the scriptures say otherwise. Some names for chariots or UFOs are chariots, clouds, whirlwind, and so on and so forth. And Lord willing, we'll get some scriptures, and that'll be that. But so let me just get the scriptures. It says Luke 21, and I'll start at 25. It says, "And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring." And there's been a lot of signs. Signs in the sun and the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations. And what's going on now, and like all the eclipses that's been happening, the pink moons. There's even I believe it was a blood moon on the Passover. Like, bro, these are signs, bro. These ain't happening on just any random day. Like, these are signs that the Lord is coming back. All right. People can call it conspiracy theory, all that, whatever bullshit. You gonna see in that day. Nigga. It says, with perplexity and the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts spilling them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. We coming into some dreadful times. It says, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And this cloud is talking about a chariot, so-called UFO. And it's not talking about, when you look up, I'm pretty sure if you look at the scripture up, you'll see Caesar Borgia with a bunch of naked baby angels coming on literal clouds. That's not it at all. All right, that's all bullshit. But it says, and when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Going to the title of the lesson, look up. Because what are we looking for? We're looking for salvation. Our salvation is coming from Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. From above. This fucking demon, bro. Damn dog won't shut the fuck up. But let me get Matthew 24 and start at 30. It says, "And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." What links up with this is Revelation 1:7. Behold, he come with many clouds. Those clouds are talking about chariots. The Lord, he's coming back with, many chariots. He's going to come back on that fathership as well. You're going to have angels, wreaking havoc on this place. That's written. That's what entails of the second coming of, the Lord Yahushua. It says, "And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other." And that's why, as it reads in Jeremiah 10:2, it says, "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." Let's look up that word dismayed. I'm going to make this video, not too long, Lord willing. But it says, dismayed. Dismayed goes into be shattered, be dismayed, be broken, be abolished, be afraid, terrified, to be scared, and when you come to this truth, you realize that this, these chariots, these so-called UFOs, is our form of deliverance. That's how we gonna get out of here. Because how do you escape a nuclear holocaust? There's no way but up. That's why when it talks about actually, before I get that, let's take an account of this right here, because it's not far fetched. I think Second Kings 2 and 1. It says, and it came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that's talking about a chariot, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgad. But let me skip down. It says 8, 2 Kings 2, I started at 11 actually. It says, and it came to pass as they went still, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and part of them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. This is Elijah and Elisha. But basically, the chariot beamed up Elijah. It says, and Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, hence the term, that's the name of the so-called UFOs, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more, and he took hold of his own clothes, and he rent them in two pieces. All right. So, just going into the account of how, UFO abduction is not far-fetched, all right? But, this world has deemed it to make it far-fetched. That's only Hollywood. That's the movies. UFOs beam up cows. Like, all that bullshit. That Hollywood bullshit. And Esau gonna pay for that shit. But let me read Wisdom of Solomon 5:1. It says, and then shall a righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. All right, that's what the elect will do. Stand in great boldness. Lord willing, be part of the elect. We gonna endure to the end, Lord willing. We gonna have that confidence that the Lord is dealing. And the Lord, he gonna show that he's dealing, because that's why Scripture says, then shall they be known who are my chosen. And the Lord is gonna verify that through the miracles, spiritual powers, so on and so forth. The chariot, best believe the chariot, so-called UFOs, they're gonna be coming closer and closer. You see them from a distance. You can go outside right now, you'll see a light. You look up and it's just zooming by, and there's multiple. Esau will try to lie and be like, oh, that's a asteroid or a comet or this, that, and third. Bro, those are chariots. And their job is to patrol, watch the earth. The eyes of the Lord are many. That's what angel means. It means messenger. And who's in control of the ships? The angels. They're watching. All right. But it says, and when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for. The strangeness of his salvation. Let's look at that word strangeness. Shut up! Fucking demon, bro. Sick of this damn dog, bro. Look at the word strange. It says, from elsewhere, foreign, of another country, unknown, unfamiliar. All right? And foreign, from elsewhere. Where is our deliverance coming? From heaven. That's who's going to deliver us, when it's all said and done. Is Yahweh Bashmi outside. That's where the great ceremony is going to take place. All right, let's go to 2 Ezra 2. And is it? Yeah, it is 2 Ezra 2. 2 Ezra 2. And I'll start at 42. And when you read in Revelation, it talks about that sea of glass. That's talking about the chariot. How the elect, Lord willing, be part of the elect. We're gonna be looking over the destruction of this place, Babylon, seeing it burn. From the heavens. All right, that's look up. Our redemption draweth nigh. So hey, it's here. The Lord, he's on his way back. All right, 2 Ezra 2 and 42, it says, and I, Ezra, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs, talking about the elect. And in the midst of them there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. He's talking about Yahushua. It says, so I asked the angel and said, sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, these be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of the Most High, and now are they crowned and receive palms. Then said I unto the angel, what young person is it that crowneth them and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of the Most High, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. All right, so, Lord willing, probably elect, the chariots are for our deliverance, Well, the chariots are also going to be wreaking havoc on these people. We can get Zechariah 5. And I'll start at 1. It says, "Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll." It's talking about a chariot. It says, "And he said unto me, What seest thou?" And I answered, "I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. And then he said unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it." You know? It says it's a curse. You know, it's a curse to these heathens in these 2/3 because it's for the destruction. You know, best believe a heathen ain't going in the chariot. You know, neither a 2/3 nigga. You know, the only people that are going to the chariots are the elect of the nation of Israel. You know, alongside obviously Yahushua, because he gonna be bringing the chariots. He gonna be coming back in the chariot. All right. It says, "And I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief." What is the house of the thief? America, Babylon. And into the house of him that swore falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. You know, and the chariots they also gonna wreak havoc on this place, bring destruction to this place along with the missiles. So this place is about to get overkill. You know, and so if you follow in Yahweh Shem outside, to the best of your ability, if you part of the elect, this is what we look, Lord willing, like I said, this is what we look forward to. We look forward to the chariots returning, because this is our deliverance. This is not a curse unto us. Lord willing, like I said, we part of the elect. All right, but let me go to I believe it's 1 Corinthians 15. Could do this one. Let's see. Actually, let's go to verse of the day. Psalms 68 and 17, it says, "The chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai in the holy place." So there's innumerable amount of chariots, angels, coming in. Chariots come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. The chariots can morph themselves, cloak themselves, hide themselves, all different types of stuff. There's no limit to the Yahweh Shemiel Shai's technology. All right, his power. All right. So, let's see. Or honestly, I'll probably just end it there, to be honest. Pretty quick video. Lord Williams edifying through the Spirit, but yes, look up. Our redemption drawing nigh. So these signs of the chariots coming, it's only gonna increase. And to hell with the world thinks. The chariots are real. You go outside right now and look up. Especially at night. They be cruising around. But bros been seeing chariots during the daytime. I believe there's a page, GM. I forgot what brother posts. He's reposts his chariot videos, and it's blatant. The signs are there. And Salaki, quick one point. Esau's afraid. Cause he knows what time it is. He understands the truth, to a sense of his destruction. When I say that, I say in a sense of he knows that what the prophets are saying is real. So that's why he goes so hard to demonize. All right, that's why do you think he's watching out of space? Because he knows what's going on. He's shivering right now. All right, he knows his time is at an end. So hopefully with this, is well said and edifying. When you all praise, glory, honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Shai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Till next time, Shalom.